Do the Browns have a leadership problem? This has been a story I've seen all over the place from time to time. Most recently, it surfaced over onto Twitter. I saw some YouTube channels talk about it. I saw some people write about this and whatnot. ESPN Cleveland had a little bit of a segment talking about whether or not the Browns have a leadership problem. And I don't want to pick on anyone. Jackson McCurry was just the last person I saw talk about it. So I thought we could address this topic on the show, because he tweeted out, Nick Chubb isn't a vocal leader. Amari Cooper isn't a vocal leader. Joel Bitonio isn't a vocal leader. I don't need Myles Garrett to be a vocal leader for the Browns. Once again, a non-issue will become an issue and topic point that's unnecessary. This is the first thing I want to get across, because the leadership question in Cleveland has been hanging around for quite some time. No one outside of that locker room, outside of Berea, can testify whether or not the Browns have good or bad leaders. You want to know why? Because you can't tell leadership from the stands. You can't identify good or bad leadership from your couch. Leadership is something that is in practice every day. It's the camaraderie in the locker room. It's in group messages. It's in examples being set by the pace you play at every single week, on the field on Sundays and at practice. You can't tell me if people are good or bad leaders based on the brief little snippets we see of these guys when the camera goes over to them on the sideline. I just think that idea of identifying leadership by going, oh, so-and-so didn't go up and talk to this player, he must be a bad leader. Come on. I'm not buying into this belief of us fans, and even a good chunk of the media can identify which people are good leaders on the team and which people are bad leaders on the team. When, let's be honest, 95% of fans only know a couple things about guys: their stats, what they look like with their helmet and jersey on, and where they went to college. So the idea of we can prescribe who the best leaders are and who are not good leaders from our couches, I don't buy into that. Now, what I can't buy into is Deshaun Watson being a good leader. This has been something that was tracked all throughout his time in college at Clemson. A lot of teammates and coaches spoke about Watson as an instrumental leader on that Tigers team. And then the same thing goes when he was in Houston. So the quarterback should be a big leader, right? The quarterback should be the number one leader. And that just kind of comes with the territory. It's not easy to be a quarterback on any football team at any level. It's the most sought after position. So to get up to the NFL, to get to the pros ranks and be a quarterback and a successful one, you don't get that far by being an asshole and having a really strong arm. You get to college with that a lot. You don't get to the pros that way. There's not many Super Bowl winning quarterbacks or all-time legends who are great leaders and were with their team for a long time who were complete dickheads. Just doesn't really happen, right? So I am in the camp of Watson is a good leader. How do I know that? I don't know it because I'm not in the locker room. But what I can tell you is that there's a long track record of Watson putting in the man hours outside of practice, right? Getting the guys back together, throwing the football down in Miami, going to Houston, getting into shape, working on drills and whatnot. Those are examples and snippets on Twitter that I can really draw a nice clear line to. He's a good leader. But again, it's only a Twitter connection. You can't really tell if someone's a good leader, I think, without getting to know them on a personal level. Even for politicians, like, we can watch speeches, we can try and connect dots, we can hear from them directly, but imagine if you were portrayed as someone who's a bad or good leader from a bunch of people you don't know, because all they go off of is your work stats. You're right. This guy's really good at Excel. Must mean he's a good leader. No, that doesn't always happen. It's not a complete apples to apples connection. Now, another key piece of the Browns leadership brass is Kevin Stefanski. Again, is he a good leader? Ask someone on the team. But what I can tell you is you don't get this far into the NFL without having some quality leadership skills. It's not an easy job to get. There are only 32 people in the world who are head coaches of the biggest professional sports league on the face of the earth. That's a long ladder to climb. You really think you get to the top without having some leadership skills that impresses a lot of superiors you had a lot of the way? I'm sure there have been one or two guys who have slipped through the cracks, but those guys got fired really quickly. You don't get to year 3 and into year 4 without having a good pulse of your locker room. And that's what a coach is supposed to do. Is Kevin Stefanski the best leader of all 32 NFL head coaches? I would say no. But does that mean he's a bad leader? That I'm going to push back on. And the coaching staff added Jim Schwartz. And a guy that has been called out for his leadership skills, not Schwartz, Myles Garrett, I think is really going to benefit from having a coach like Jim Schwartz, right? Someone who has been in the front of this NFL room, right? Was a head coach in Detroit, defensive coordinator in Buffalo, Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator in Philadelphia. He has picked up a lot of tricks of the trade. He knows what success looks like. And he also knows what it looks like to be unsuccessful. He had a lot of time in Detroit where they were not good. And he saw what the practices and the habits were that made teams unsuccessful. And I believe he's going to come to Cleveland, and he's got all this experience, and he's going to put in habits, routines, practices, drills that he saw where places were successful had going, and he's going to bring that to Cleveland. Now, is Myles Garrett going to pick that up and make sure that trickles down to the 53rd guy in the roster? I hope so. But again, the thesis of this video is not that I'm going to stand here and convince you one way or another that so-and-so, Garrett, Schwartz, or Watson is a great leader or a bad leader. It's that you and I don't know because we're not in the locker room. And I really do believe at my core, you cannot tell me definitively one way or another that someone is not a good leader without even talking to them for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Right? All we have is little sound bites from interviews after games when either A, they're super pumped up because they won, or B, they're devastated because their body gets put through the ringer. They get beat up, they're black and blue coming out, and then they got to speak to the media, but they got to do it with a big smile on their face, and every single word is stripped down to the letter and dissected as we try to make stories out of these little sound clips. I don't think that's a good spot to evaluate whether someone is a good leader or not. When the lights are on and there's 30 cameras in front of them and a bunch of microphones, that's the moment we find out someone's a good leader? No. I think you find out someone's a good leader based on the way they carry themselves in practice, the speed they play at, so that other players go, damn, Myles Garrett, all-pro kind of player, he's playing that hard right now. I better pick up my shit because if he's going that fast, I got to go that fast. No days off. And you just don't get that sense outside of not even really Sundays, practice in the locker room, right? Now, there are lots of examples, no doubt, of players not following rules. Last year, right, Myles Garrett was not suspended. He just didn't start. Suspended for the first play of the game, if you will. And we never quite knew why. That stayed in-house. But you would like to see leaders not break rules, and that appears to be what happened with Myles Garrett, whether that was he missed a practice, he slept through a practice, something to that nature, it sounded like. Obviously, you don't want that from the guy who's leading your defense. But I just cannot take that one example and then build a whole mountain out of it and go, Myles Garrett's not a leader. He didn't go to OTAs, and he missed a practice last year. That means he's a bad leader. What? You kidding me? Have you ever had a bad day before? Have you ever screwed up at your job before? I know I have. I don't think that automatically qualifies me as a bad leader. So the point of this video was not to persuade you into believing they are good or bad leaders. The point of this video was to say, we won't know if they are good or bad leaders unless someone from that locker room comes out and goes, Nick Chubb, that's a guy I take a bullet for. That's a leader right there. But I haven't heard many Browns players come out and say good or bad things about the leadership. That kind of stuff stays in-house. You usually don't go and leave a team and run your mouth to the media about which guys were good leaders and which guys were bad leaders and start bad-mouthing people. Because you're not going to have a long career in the NFL if you kind of keep that habit up. So I sure hope that Deshaun Watson and his quarterback status can bring over and instill better leadership and, improved leadership, because this is a organization that has not had very consistent things over the last 10 or so years. But the idea of people coming up with concrete ideas of good leader, bad leader, good leader, based on what? Tiny little interactions that are hardly even personal interactions? I just think that's a bit silly. So let me know, what's your concern level over the Browns' leadership? Scale it 1 to 10. I'd be lying if I said I was at a 1 because there have been examples and situations that I would have preferred not to have gone that way, but I just can't stand here and say it's a 10. This team has no leadership without ever knowing any of these guys on a personal level beyond how many rushing yards Nick Chubb had, how many sacks Myles Garrett had, and then having to connect those numbers and go, that means he's a good leader, that means he's a bad leader. I think that's just redonkulous. What's not redonkulous are the Browns t-shirt deals we have going on here. You can get the new Dog Pound logo t-shirt on sale, just saying. Chatsports.com/CLEDog. Links in the comments and the description of today's video. Now, to wrap up the show, I didn't want to be a parrot the whole time here, so I thought we could look at ESPN's running back rankings. Remember, they polled a bunch of NFL execs and scouts and whatnot. And shout out to some of the league execs. They know ball. Nick Chubb finished number 1 in ESPN's running back rankings, ahead of Christian McCaffrey, who was unbelievable last year. So good for San Francisco. Josh Jacobs, the NFL rushing leader. Saquon Barkley had a nice bounce-back season. Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. And the fact that he's 5 blows my mind. I thought he would be at least 2 or 3. Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook goes 6, 7, and 8. And then Tony Pollard and Austin Ekeler, who didn't even crack the top 10 last year, file in at 9 and 10. And Nick Chubb, the guy is special. I mean, he's never gone below 5 yards a carry in his NFL career. There are a lot of great players who were close to 4 yards a carry last year. I don't want to badmouth Derrick Henry because he is one of the best and he is beating Father Time, but he averaged 4.2, 4.3 yards a carry this past season. Meanwhile, Nick Chubb, he's almost getting better as he gets older, right? That was his best season last year, you could say. 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns. I'm very excited and very happy for Chubb to finally get some national level recognition because the smart folks in Northeast Ohio know what a special player 24 is, and it's only a matter of time between the guys in LA and New York figure it out as well. Now, on yesterday's show, we started things off with a quick poll, some feedback from all of our viewers about things we can do better. And we got some great suggestions. I wanted to highlight just one, but a lot of good feedback we got from Chris Butts, who said, I love the show just the way it is. Thank you very much, Chris. If you're looking for a small change, what about a remote broadcast at some point? Maybe a training camp visit and or a training camp episode with a guest of some sort. I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. Here at Chat Sports, we have multiple studios, so we can film a lot of videos. I picked the studio that shares a wall with my boss, so maybe he could hear this and send me and Trace to Berea. That would be a lot of fun, Chris. There's a lot of red tape to get through here at Chat Sports to get the green light to go up to training camp for something like that. Believe me, it's a big thing on my bucket list to get done with this channel, but hopefully that can be on the horizon soon. Probably not going to happen this year because this is about a week and a half outside of the guys going to Greenbrier. But hopefully next year for training camp, I can pop up to Cleveland, meet a lot of you guys. Anyone that wants to come out and hang out, more than happy to grab a beer or get a bite or anything like that. But Chris, thank you so much for the wonderful suggestion of going to Berea for training camp. That's going to get me into a world of hurt when this video wraps up. Okay. Pick a card time. Pick a card time. Trace Gerard is the producer today. We all got very lucky having the talented Trace behind the camera. Trace, no producer's gotten a card yet. Do you want to take a stab at it?
I'm going to go 5 of clubs.
You know, 5 of clubs is good. That's like a guy who knows his driver's not helping him that day. So he leaves the driver in his bag. He gets the 4-iron out, and he smacks it down the middle of the fairway.
I'm feeling good about this one.
I like that.
I'm hoping for a good pull.
I'm going to go with 8 of hearts. All right, one more cut. What'd you say?
5 of clubs.
5 of clubs.
Let's go! Woohoo!
Fuck. We are all tied. We're always going to lose it. Wow.
I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped up.
We got to have an emergency bring him on screen here.
Let's go!
It's 1-1. Pressure's on now. It is 1-1 between me and the producers. Oh, boy. Okay. Wow. Trace, congratulations. I know what it feels like to get it. King of Diamonds lives forever. And 5 of clubs now lives forever.
That's my card.
Good for you, man. That's good shit. Roll is going to be so pissed. Okay, enjoy your Friday. We will sign off. See you guys later.